Okay, Albert, karibu sana.
Asante.
Welcome to our alumni talk show.
Yeah.
We've been looking for you for a long time.
Thank you very much for having me.
And welcome to Kenya.
Asante sana.
So on a personal level, tell us about yourself. Who is Albert? What is all the hype about Albert?
I need to make something clear. This is the first time I'm doing this. So it's not the most, how can I say, natural thing. I'm going to try my best to... I usually see people doing podcasts and I'm like, that looks cool. But I didn't know it's that difficult until now. Anyway, who is Albert? That's a very difficult question, by the way. Yeah, but I'm Albert. Yeah, I'm a former Light Academy student. I graduated from Light Academy Mombasa in 2008, which seems like ages now ago.
16 years.
16 years ago. But today I'm an engineer. I like to think of myself as an engineer and a scientist. A computer engineer. I am person who cares deeply about society, trying to do a few things here and there with regard to the society where I grew up in. And a bunch of other things that we can talk along as we go. But it's kind of hard to say who is Albert.
Yeah, that's true. There's always funny stories, like good stories of how people got to Light, like how it happened, how you got to Light and stuff. Mine is a very long one, so how did you get to Light?
Mine is a very lucky one, how I got to Light. Nice. Actually, when results were announced, I used to go to a small school in Kongoya.
That's Mombasa.
It's in Mombasa, yes. And
you're from Mombasa?
Yeah, well, I'm actually from Lamu. I did school in Lamu until class 5, then I moved to Mombasa because we had better schools there and whatnot. So anyway, I finished my KCPE, and I got 418 back then out of 500, which was... But to be fair, I was from Mombasa, so for Mombasa standards, that's pretty high.
I was in Light Academy there.
Exactly, you were in Light Academy Primary School, you can't compare. And I was in a Kichochoroni school in Kongoya somewhere.
Good job then.
So I finished my primary school and I was in Lamu actually, grazing goats and taking care of my mom's goats and cows and waiting to be called, like we used to do, you had to be called to a school and blah, blah, blah. So I got my admission letters. I was called to, for those who don't know what called means, it's once you finish high school, I know things have changed now, you wait for the government to tell you where you're going. Once you finish primary school, you wait for the government to tell you where you're going to go for your high school. That is called calling. So I was called to Ribe Boys, which was like the in thing.
Who is that?
It's in Kwale. It used to be the best school in Coast Province.
Ribe Boys.
Yes, Ribe Boys, and I was also called to Lenana Boys.
Lenana.
Yes.
Yes. Can you imagine that with all my
What a coincidence! We could have. So Lenana was the national school, right?
Yes.
And Ribe was like the provincial schools back then. So I was quite lucky in that aspect. But then one of our neighbors heard that there was guys from Light Academy who were moving around churches, interestingly churches, announcing that there are scholarships for kids who passed and blah, blah, blah.
Interesting.
But then I was still in Lamu. So I come, my sister hears about it, calls me, calls my mom and they're like, oh, can you come and whatever. So I come to Mombasa and they tell me, oh, there is these people who are looking for kids to join this new school. But then Light Academy was very new. Light Academy in Mombasa was established in 2004.
Yeah,
this was 2008, so it's just 4 years in.
Who are the people? Do you remember anyone?
The people who were moving around, I think it was Kina Mr. Tufan back then.
Tufan ID.
And exactly,
I remember
these people. Yeah. So I go to they say, oh, you have to do an interview, blah, 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 to see if you qualify and whatever. I'm coming straight from rural areas. Nimetoka kuchunga ng'ombe. I remember, one of the things I remember is my knees were hurting so bad. Because you can imagine walking with cows the whole day, right? It has a weird thing on your knees.
With your 418.
So my knees were hurting so bad. I go to do the interview and surprisingly, I did very, very well. I think I got 100 in everything. Those exams they were giving. Whatever. I think it was only one thing that I got 98. But everything else was like 100 and whatever. Yeah. So Mr. Fan is quite excited, like, oh, this could be a good candidate. But then he tells me they've already given out all the scholarships.
Oh my God.
So scholarships are done and it's like, but they want to retain me. So he tells my sister that we can give him a partial scholarship, like 50% scholarship, because that's what we have available.
Yeah.
So then my sister now has to convince my father because even a partial scholarship in Light Academy is still very expensive. Back then it was 36,000. Back then it was 36,000 per year, per term. And partial scholarship meant I had to pay 18,000 per year. So if you do 18 times 3, it's a lot of money, right? And in Lenana, we were paying 24, 26
per year.
Per year, exactly. Per year. So my dad is doing the math between where do I go and where do I. Anyway, finally he decided like, oh, this school looks good and whatever. They're new, but they're really good. So my sister manages to convince my dad that Light Academy is better than
elder than you, right? Huh? Elder than you?
Yeah, my elder sister actually. I was living with her. She convinces my dad that Light Academy is actually better than Lenana, so he can just go there. And I go to Lenana. And the funny thing is that some of my primary school teachers were not very happy with that because they're like, why are you not going to a national school? You're going to this new school that no one knows about and whatever. But anyway, it turns out it was a good bet. So yeah, I joined Light Academy, graduated in 2008.
The same as me.
Yeah, we were in the same class. We did our tuitions together, if you remember. And so
you guys bullied me so much. I can never forget. When you guys were coming to Nairobi, I was bullied.
Yeah, all right.
Funny enough, Alikama bullied me so much.
Now we are all people.
And now we are colleagues.
Yeah, Alikama is a very good friend of mine. After I graduated, we were working at Light Academy, both of us. I was actually with him like 2 days ago, and we went to have coffee, and we went. He actually took me to. So this haircut, if it's not good, blame Alikama. He took me to his barber to have a haircut. But anyway,
the person who was nice to me from you guys was this brown guy.
Efantas.
Efantas
is a really good engineer right now. Yeah, he's a brilliant engineer. He does mechatronics and engineering.
And the rest.
Yeah. But me, I think I was not so speaking. I think when we came to Nairobi,
you were bookworm.
I was a bookworm.
So how was life in Light Academy? How was life in school?
So life was very different.
The 4 years.
The 4 years. I remember
were you a border?
Yeah, full border.
Full border.
Full border, full border. As we were full border, not because we wanted to, but because the circumstances at home.
I understand.
Or not the best. So anyway, the 4 years were pretty nice. I mean, I joined 2004, so like 2005, because I finished my KCPE in 2004. Joined 2005. At first, it was culture shock. You go to a school where you're given. My dad was very surprised, by the way. Like, you don't need to carry beds, you don't need to carry the mattress, you don't need to carry the big thing. The big box that you have to carry.
The metallic one.
The metallic one. You don't need to do that. You don't need to carry books.
Let me tell you a funny thing. From Kibera, whenever I was telling people about my life in school, people thought I was lying.
Same here.
Everybody thought I was lying.
It was crazy. And then, so I come to Light Academy. It's a boarding school. We have this beds and the mattresses are so thick. At home, I'm not sleeping on this kind of mattress. You need to understand that. So it was all very crazy because the life was so different, like culture shock.
It's true.
Like first of all, the school is in Nyali. You see Nyali. In Kenya, you see Nyali when we pass by to go to the beach. And I joined, my class teacher was Mr. Tumer. He had just come in from Turkey.
Ismail Tumer?
Yeah, Mr. Tumer. Ismail Tumer was my first class teacher. Then we had to learn Turkish.
The funny thing, we were talking to him to visit you in Germany.
He called me actually. He called me. Yeah, we were very much in contact.
He remembers you, right?
Yeah, I remember, of course, very well.
Nice. He was here in July, I think. He visited here in July.
I didn't visit him when I was living in Germany, so unfortunately.
He remembers me actually.
Yeah.
And funny enough, he was my biology teacher. I think in Form
4, because that's when he left us. He left in Form 3 and moved to
teacher.
I remember we cried a lot when Mr. Tumer left. Yeah, we really loved Mr. Tumer. And that's why today he's in touch with almost all of us.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's a very good memory.
Yeah, he's very good. He remembers everything, the details of everyone and whatever. So the 4 years were, so the first year is culture shock, obviously. I mean, what is this, right? Like, you're coming from Kongoya. Those of you who know Kongoya know what Kongoya is, right? And you're here, you're eating chips at school, man. Chips and meatballs. I mean, like that was Wednesday, right? The funny thing is I remember the school menu. Monday was chapati maragwe. Wow. Tuesday was baked chips. Wednesday was meatballs. Thursday was again baked chips. And Friday was pilau. Wow. Like I have the entire menu memorized. So I could remember our school menu. So the food was, that's another thing, right? You have really good food. And then, so the funny thing is when I was in class 5, when I was still in Kongoya, they had tried to introduce us to computers, right? They had brought this big machine that had a fan behind it and blah, blah. And we're like, you could type your name and your name could appear. And actually that's what piqued my interest in computer. So when I come to Light Academy, you have an entire computer lab. You have computers and whatever. And that was so funny.
Did they have Macs like this?
No, back then we didn't have Macs.
Now we have Macs.
Now we have Macs. But it was so amazing because imagine because remember our class was kids collected from all parts of the world you can think about.
Who was a computer teacher?
At the beginning it was Mr. Kerem, Kerem Miraulu or something like that. And then Mr. Mustafa came, who is the coordinator. Yes, Mustafa Genj. Not Mustafa Genj. Mustafa Gungor. Gungor was my computer teacher. Exactly. Actually, he was really the influential part in me joining computer science.
Yeah, that's why I'll talk about that. What influenced you to go to computers?
I will talk about that shortly.
Because you see the funny thing, we had Mr. Genj. The guy was a computer guru.
Yeah, I know because Mr. Genj also taught me when we used to come here.
And the funny thing, a lot of people in our class took computers.
Yeah.
I think the same for you guys.
Exactly.
But I don't think I know any computer engineer from our class.
No.
From your lot, I know a few people.
There are several
including
people,
Ali.
yes.
I think Ali is a
Mr.
very
Ali
good
is,
computer
yeah.
teacher now.
So Mr. Mustafa Gongoro was one of the big influences for that, right? So he's the one, I remember the first code I wrote. He's the one who taught us. Back then, Visual Basic.
Yeah.
Like, what is Visual Basic? We would have this command boxes.
Hello
and
world.
whatever. Exactly, Hello World in whatever. So he's the one who introduced us to that world of computing and everything, which was super amazing. Then, I think in Form 3, Mr. Mustafa left and Mr. Shakir came. Mr. Shakir was now the one who finished out his Form 4. Now, the thing about Mr. Shakir is he was quite an interesting guy, but he really loved me, right? So we had a very good relationship with Mr. Shakir.
Yeah.
He was quite strict as a teacher, but once you got to know him, he was a really good guy. So Mr. Shakir really loved me. So I finished Form 4, and I was called back to be a supervisor. So you remember those supervisors that would call back? And the job they gave me was the computer lab. So I was in charge of the computer lab.
Nice.
So by the time, back then we used to wait for 2 years to join university. Job.
Yeah.
So by the time I'm waiting for my job, I was already working in the computer lab. I could fix anything in the computer, right? Nice. I could open them up. I could change motherboards. I could do all these kind of things. And in fact, I remember the day I got my scholarship. Mr. Kuchuk comes and tells me, so we found your scholarship to go to Turkey, blah, blah, blah. But you're going to study computer engineering. And don't worry about it because you don't really need to learn much about hardware. You're doing everything already. The only thing they need to teach you is software engineering.
Nice.
Okay, so the funny thing is I didn't choose computer engineering for myself.
Oh.
They chose it for me.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I had already spent 2 years
doing this.
You're
a supervisor for 2 years.
I was a supervisor for 2 years because we were waiting for 2 years for job. So I got my scholarship 1 month before I joined UN.
Oh,
yeah, nice. 1 month before I joined the University of Nairobi is when I got my scholarship.
You're almost joining University of Nairobi?
Yeah, I was almost joining University of Nairobi. In fact, I had already applied for HELB and whatever.
What course were you going to
Quantity surveying. So it was a completely different thing.
You're a better engineer than a surveyor.
But here's the funny thing. I messed up, and I usually say that life has a funny way of correcting its own mistakes. Because the first application when we were in university, I applied for computer science, everything.
Oh.
First choice was computer science, second choice was computer science, third choice was I really wanted to go. But when we went to revise our courses, I don't know who convinced me to change and put quantity surveying. Yeah. I didn't even know what quantity surveying was. I was reading about it then.
Yeah.
So, but then look at life.
Yeah.
1 month before, they give me a scholarship to study computer engineering.
Ali Kamau is the best computer teacher I've ever seen.
Hey, I know.
Actually, he's producing A's right now.
Oh yes, his student just rocked.
Your classmate. Fantas is doing some really good computer stuff.
Exactly, Fantas. So all of those, me, Ali Kamau, we were all computer students. Me, Ali Kamau, some guy called Adrian, some other guy called Andrew, and who else? I can't remember the name, but because then we used to choose between business and computer. So about 7 of us chose computer.
And are you all in computer?
And almost all of us now are in one way or the other doing computer, except Andrew who went to law.
Also, in my class, I don't know any. A lot of people did computer, like Peter Koyer,
They
did computer.
Yeah.
They end up in different fields in university.
Yeah.
Nicholas was here, Konunda.
Yeah.
He went to Mombasa for Form 4. Now he's a computer guy. Like, what's his
Actually, Nicholas, we used to do a lot of coding work with Nicholas because Mustafa was teaching them coding, and he would come and share all these ideas with me and blah, blah, blah. So Nicholas is a very good friend of mine. I don't know if he's still around or not.
Yeah, he's still around.
I should have seen him.
He's our main graphics guy.
Yeah, I should have seen him.
Everybody who went to Mombasa became good in computer.
Exactly. We were all super interested in computer. But we had really good teachers. And also we had really good facilities like computer lab. So actually today I'm feeling all nostalgic doing this in a computer lab.
I never did computer. I'm not feeling any nostalgia.
I spent so much. So you remember the Form 4 project?
Yeah,
it used to take so long.
Yeah.
And we would spend night until 10 p.m. in the computer lab.
So I was doing business. So
you don't have that, exactly.
In computer lab,
we would spend until 10 p.m. in the computer lab. So I spent so much time in the computer lab doing my project because that's the only place you could access computers anyway. And it was so nice.
It works well for you. In alumni office, we've been trying to get Ali Kamau to work with us because the school doesn't release him because of the computer thing.
Yes. Ali Kamau is now, he's a computer science teacher. He has a degree in computer science.
The guy is at Academy alumni. He's becoming a legend now.
He's becoming a legend and he's generating a lot of legends. He was telling me that some of his students are now software engineers at Google.
Bro, his students, can you imagine?
Yeah, he's doing so well.
We're getting old.
Can you imagine Ali Kamau telling me, my student is a software engineer at Google? I'm like, wait a minute.
We're getting old, man. Now, before we talk about this AI, I think it's a specialization. Can you talk about your academic journey after high school? How did you get to this?
So
how did you get to this AI?
After high school, I got my scholarship to go to Turkey. It was in a place called Kayseri, and not a very known city. There were like 5 black people in the whole city. I can talk about that. Exactly. So you were in Istanbul. I can talk about Kayseri, and you guys, you're gonna go crazy because there were like 5 black people in the entire city. Wow. And sometimes we would walk in the streets, and there would be like 100 people following you.
Let me pause you a bit. I got Kojeli University at first before 14.
In
Izmit.
In Izmit, yes.
I got Kojeli. When I got Kojeli, I'm the only black person in the whole
Yes,
city.
so I know the experience.
But
Yeah, that was insane.
I don't know
right?
what
We would
kind
walk
of
and we were like people following us because they're like, wow, black people, we have never seen this, right?
You're celebs.
Exactly. We would sign autographs. There are pictures of me signing autographs because they would think we were like footballers or something like that. And so I got my scholarship there to do computer
The
engineering.
university was in English or
It was in English. I was very lucky. We were among the very few people who got to
Kayseri.
universities. Exactly.
Which university was that?
Malikshah University.
Malikshah.
Now it's Erjas University. It's part of Erjas University. We were among the few people who got scholarships in English. So my scholarship was in English. And then I went there and actually by the time I always tell people like, and this is true, that by the time I was in second year university, I knew I wanted to be a professor. Because the kind of professors I had were incredibly amazing. Because, I had all of these traumatic stories about universities in Kenya, professors not caring, strikes and all. But there you go find like professors that were super passionate about their work. It's true. All of them had come from like Harvard, MIT, Georgia Tech,
in fact, it was the same.
Exactly.
All my professors are American educated professors.
So you have professors who have been to Georgia Tech, not Tokyo Tech, but MIT and all this kind of thing. They were incredibly good at their job. So I was so inspired by the work they were doing and how much they enjoyed academia. And I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, I don't even want to code and do the kind of thing. I just want to be an academic, do research and teach and this kind of things. And so from second year of uni, I knew that's what I was going to do.
Okay.
So when I finished that, sad story is 1 month before graduation, I broke my leg. And to do your masters, you need to do TOEFL or what are the name of this exam? GRE and all these shenanigans, right? And so that you can get the scholarship and whatever. So I was not in time for that, to do that one in order to go to the universities in the US. Because I wanted to do my masters in the US, which is usually combined with a PhD. So I stayed. I did my masters. I got not a scholarship. I actually applied to join Abdullah Gul University, which was just a new university back then in Kayseri. But then I got so lucky because I got a professor again who was really helpful and very friendly to me. I can never forget the name.
University for you?
No, in a different university now, Abdullah Gul University, Dr. Gulay Alchin. Gulay Alchin was heaven sent. And she was doing exactly what I wanted to do. She was a computer architecture, which is more on the hardware side of things than the software, because I felt like I had done so much on software and I just wanted to know what was happening on the computer design and this kind of thing. So Gulay Alchin became my supervisor for my masters, and I did my thesis with her. But then, when I was doing my thesis with her, she said, "I'm going to send you to Barcelona to do your internship for 3 months."
Wow!
So she got me a scholarship to go to Barcelona to do my internship, and I loved it there. So I went to Barcelona Supercomputing Center.
This is your master's study?
This is during my masters, yeah. So Dr. Gulay had done her PhD at Barcelona Supercomputing Center. So she was like, "I'm going to send you there to go do 3 months."
Pause kidogo. How are your undergrad grades?
Actually, my undergraduate grades were pretty good. It's only the last ones that messed up. So my undergraduate grades were ridiculous in a sense. I think I finished the GPA of 3.3 or 3.4, thereabouts.
4, huh?
Yeah, not so bad.
That's really good.
Yes. But I could have actually gotten a 3.5. But I broke my leg in the last month before the final exam. So my grades, I actually hadn't done my exams for the final year before I could graduate. Right, so I graduated and did my exams later because I had a problem with my leg and whatever.
Were you the first in the department with 3.3?
No. I was not the first, the second, neither the third. I think I was the fourth or something.
I had 3.6. I was second.
You see? So if I had just gotten a little bit better, I could have been there. But the interesting thing was my computer grades were extremely good. I don't think there's any computer unit that I didn't get an AA.
Wow, nice.
Right? But the problem now was math. So, I always tell people that in Kenya, we don't do any math in high school.
Exactly.
We lie to ourselves that we are doing math, but we don't do any mathematics in high school. So when you go to Turkey and you do your first exam, and I remember precisely I got 32%.
And the funny thing is, Kenyans were not very good in there. Everybody else is good.
Everybody else, we're the only ones who don't know anything about math.
Tanzanians are so good. I was shocked. Tanzanians are so
Tanzanians
good.
do Form 5 and 6. We don't do Form 5 and 6. So when we go there, and in Form 5 and 6, they only focus on
They were so good in those
mathematics. Exactly. They were the ones teaching us mathematics.
Exactly.
Right. And the Turks are also extremely good, and they do everything in 1 minute. Because they're high school, they have to solve every question in 1 minute.
Those guys can memorize everything.
Exactly.
Those guys can memorize
So
everything.
math became a very problem. Man, calculus, I think it's calculus 2. I did calculus 2 4 times.
Wow.
Trying to move my grade from CC.
I did it twice.
I think I did calculus 2 4 times because I just couldn't pass it. Not like pass it. I didn't get the grade because I wanted to get a BB at least, right? And I kept getting a CC, a CC, a CC. And the best it ever came to was a CB.
How are you doing machine learning with all that mathematics?
Exactly. So I realized what was the mistake. When I started doing my PhD is when I realized where the mistake was. The problem in in my undergrad was we were being taught mathematics by mathematicians. So it was so abstract for me. I couldn't relate it to engineering. And then when I started doing my PhD, I could see exactly why I'm doing this math. So even a problem like integration that seems so complicated, right? Instead of someone just explaining to you that, we are trying to change, okay, let's start with derivative. Instead of someone just explaining to you derivative is just about a change, right? They're explaining all these fancy figures and whatever. And I'm like, okay, how is this relevant?
Skipping some methods.
Skipping a lot of things and just telling you this is how you do the derivative of this function.
We had a Russian professor who did differential equations. He was skipping steps.
So like, you can't relate. And me, I'm a computer engineer. I don't see how this is relevant. But then I go to machine learning and they tell me, to do back propagation, you need to see how much the value changed from this to this. And for that, you need to find the derivative. I'm like, okay, now it makes sense. Okay, now I can do the derivative.
So you became good in maths.
Exactly. PhD, Then in my PhD is when I figured out how to do the linear algebra. Everyone makes linear algebra so complicated. But linear algebra is just matrix and a matrix and you're trying to multiply things and what. But then if you make it relevant to me, I can do it.
So masters in Barcelona?
Not masters. Masters in Caesarea. So I finished my masters. Well, I go to Barcelona, do my internship, come back. But I established really good relationships there. So when I come back, I finished my master's with a very good grade and with a very good thesis. They loved my thesis. And then there was a scholarship that was opening. Now, the trick part is this is one of the most competitive scholarships in the world. It's a Marie Curie fellowship. So Gulai tells me, Dr. Gulai tells me, Albert, you have to apply for the scholarship because you want to do a PhD. And me, I'm not going to keep finding for your PhD position. So you have to apply for this. But then I look at it and I'm like, obviously I can't qualify. Right? I mean, my university is in Turkey. You're competing with people who went to universities like Georgia Tech or the one in Munich or TUM, Technical University of Munich or TU Delft, O2, and all these big names. And you're like, where are you from? Agu. The like good university. I mean, it's a good university, but like if you compare the caliber, it's impossible. So I was reluctant. But till the last, I remember 2 weeks before the closing deadline, Dr. Gulai comes to my office. We had like graduate offices there. She's like, have you applied for the scholarship? No. I said, Albert, the next time I come to the office and you haven't applied for the scholarship, I'm going to throw you off this way. So I said, okay, let's do it. It's a bit serious. But then now you needed to do TOEFL exams. And I was so broke. So a friend of mine, Paul, actually, we were together. Paul Njoroge.
Paul Njoroge?
Yeah, Paul Njoroge. He was in Istanbul. He was living in Istanbul back then. He's the one who lent me $200 to go register for TOEFL. So I registered for TOEFL, did my TOEFL. TOEFL is a very easy exam. It's just that
you should give Paul.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you met him? He's in Nairobi?
Yeah, we meet a lot. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
So that's how I did my TOEFL exam, right? And then I apply. And guess what? I'm shortlisted.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, this is not possible. So we had to do, back then you had to go to Barcelona to do the interview. So I went to Barcelona, did my interview. The first list came, I was not in the list. 2 days later, 3 days or so later, they sent me an email. They're like, actually, you've been accepted. Wow. So yeah, that's how I got my scholarship to go to Spain to do my PhD in exactly what I wanted in computer architecture.
Which university? As if I know university.
No, there are a couple of good universities, the technical universities basically, there are not so many. So I was in Technical University of Catalonia, which is, we generally call it UPC, University Politécnica de Catalunya, in Catalan, which is the local language in Barcelona.
You speak Catalan now?
No, not a word. But yeah, so did my PhD there 4 years and the rest is history.
You're a doctor now?
No, I'm a doctor, Sometimes I forget that.
How does it feel? What do you mean you forget that?
No, really, sometimes I forget that.
I could never forget, man. If I got my PhD, I'll remind everybody that I'm a doctor.
I'm a doctor. I could never forget. No, I mean, it's really surreal sometimes because you look back and you're like, oh, wow, I actually did get that far. I mean, like, never thought this could happen. So, but then did
your academic journey finish with doctorate?
Not really. So after Barcelona, I moved to Germany to become a research scientist. I worked 3 years there. I was doing research work in supercomputing. My specialty is supercomputing. So all these, large-scale supercomputers that we use to train AI models and stuff. Yeah. That's mostly my my specialty, and as well as AI. In AI, I just try to understand how we can run AI in supercomputers, right? I'm not exactly an AI specialist. I'm more on how do I help people who do AI to train their models in supercomputers.
I hope I'm going to help you.
You can get some answers. But yeah, so and then after that, I finished 3 years in Germany, I was like, now I want to know how things work in industry because I love academia and I want to go back to academia. I still teach from time to time.
Ah, nice.
But I wanted to know how things work in industry, like in big companies like Google or Microsoft and whatever. So that's when I moved now back to Barcelona to join AstraZeneca. So now I'm an AI engineer with AstraZeneca. And so far so good. Absolutely loving it.
Is it the vaccine guys, right?
Yeah, it's the vaccine.
Are you making us more vaccines?
There's only so much I can talk about, but but yes,
vaccine is a very sensitive topic. Right
yeah,
now.
absolutely, and drug development is also a sensitive topic. So there's only so much. But yeah, we do a lot of work around AI.
How is it living in Spain?
I love it. I love Spain. I think I was built for Spain.
But
you need to remember that I'm from Mombasa. So it was natural. Like for me, Germany was torture because it was too cold. The weather was too rainy. The people are very different. But Barcelona feels more like a Mombasa sort of vibe. It's hot. People are super, super friendly. Everyone just wants to go to the beach.
Let's talk about this AI, this artificial intelligence. Is a thing right now.
Yes.
So, like for someone who is not tech savvy, someone who is just there doing other things, for example, like economics and stuff, what is artificial intelligence? How can you explain it to anyone?
It's difficult. Let me start with the translations. I love the translation of artificial intelligence in Turkish, yapay zeka.
Yapay zeka.
When you say yapay zeka, it kind of starts making sense, right? If you speak Turkish, or if you do the translation of it to Kiswahili, akili bandia. Akili bandia.
That's okay, Kiswahili.
That's AI in Kiswahili. It's akili, but bandia. Sio ya kuzaliwa nayo.
I prefer yapay zeka. Akili bandia is very bad.
Yeah, but AI, honestly, I mean, a lot of people think now AI is super popular and it's the big thing and whatever. But it's not necessarily that new. AI has been around since 1950s, right?
What do you mean 1950s?
Alan Turing was the first person to propose what is famously called a Turing test, which was the idea of how can we test if something is intelligent or not, or whatever. But basically, I mean, AI has been around for a long time. It's just something.
What is it? What is this AI?
Exactly. So it's just either using specific algorithms, and there could be a bunch of different algorithms. I will talk slightly about what is now super popular, which is called deep learning, deep neural networks. But before deep neural networks, we tried a bunch of different things until we got to something that actually worked. And so AI, in the simplest term, is just intelligence that is algorithm based. I want to say, right?
If you ask me what AI is in simple terms, I say ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, I know, because now people are seeing ChatGPT, and that's the closest thing they're able to relate with, and they think that's AI. But let me tell you, you take a photo with your iPhone, right? iPhone automatically adjusts the colors to you and blah, blah. That's AI.
How did
right?
you have iPhone?
Yeah.
No, just
Yeah. Or you do Siri. That's still AI. Siri, can I have this? That's still AI, right? So there's so many angles to this. There's so many applications of AI. Or the most popular one that people interacted with for ages but didn't notice was AI was if you buy something on Amazon, if you buy a spoon on Amazon, Amazon tells you, oh, here is a fork. That's also AI, right? We know you need this.
We normally say Instagram listens to us.
Yeah, Instagram, but that's just AI, right?
Gives you adverts
and you know it was there since ages. Like if you look in a supermarket, for example, the way things are arranged in a supermarket is it's dependent on like you buy this, you're likely to buy this. So they put the next thing right there, right? This one we call recommendation algorithms.
I never noticed that in supermarket.
Exactly, in supermarket. Where
I'm going to look at it.
Just be careful and watch, right? Where you buy shower gel, you're most likely to find a shampoo, right? Like all these things are aligned, and there's the general thought around how it should go, right? Whoa. But this was us deciding how that. But if you give all that data to a computer, then it's able to even get you a better optimization, say, for that.
Does it excite you, this AI thing?
Oh, it excites me so much. I love AI. I love the potential of what we can do with AI. Like we're able to, I mean, let's just look at a field like drug development. I mean, people don't realize how much fast we're able to move because of things like AI. We got a COVID vaccine in 2 years. That is historically impossible. I'm not saying that everything was done with AI, but a lot of the work, a lot of the heavy lifting was done with AI, right? People need to realize that the potential for this technology is incredible. Think about it this way. Do you know how, okay, let's think about the smartest person you know in your class. For us, it's Abdullahi
Gibson,
and Gibson, exactly.
Gibson was very smart.
Exactly. Now think about Gibson, but then you have like 1,000 Gibsons who know like so much about almost everything. And you have all that at your disposal, right? It's incredibly powerful. So it's a very powerful technology. We have a lot to do with it. I can talk a bunch of the things we are excited about.
How is it changing industries right now?
So, for example, I was just giving an example of drug development. We're able to do drugs a lot faster. You can see things like what everyone is familiar with right now, ChatGPT, like generative AI.
This ChatGPT, is it prone to misuse, for example? You see, already, without ChatGPT, Google is a menace.
Yes.
I think some doctors are complaining.
Yeah.
Someone gets a headache, he Googles.
They Google themselves.
They go to hospital and
yes.
teaching the doctor that Google says me this.
Yeah.
Is self-diagnosis something like that going to be a misuse for ChatGPT?
I mean, when ChatGPT came out, even people started talking about, ChatGPT doctor, blah, 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 and all this kind of things.
It's okay, ChatGPT, ask it some Islamic questions.
Yeah, so there's obviously a potential for misuse, and this is something we as engineers are constantly thinking about. How can people misuse this technology and what? But the problem is when we work in isolation, we don't solve this problem. So now we are seeing a lot of cross domain collaboration. So it's an AI engineer, an AI scientist, an anthropologist, a doctor, and all these people trying to figure out how can we get this technology to be as safe as possible for people. Because if I think about it, just as an engineer,
like government regulations or something, does it mean?
There's a lot of government regulation right now, which are super annoying, by the way. I'm not a huge fan of regulations in a way.
I don't feel any regulation.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of regulations. One, because I feel like we're regulating it wrongly, especially in Kenya.
Can you regulate those things?
There's an air bill and blah, blah, blah that was supposed to pass parliament. A lot of technology.
I just said ChatGPT today, nobody regulated me anything.
But that's not how the regulation works. The regulation works in so many other angles, right? Yes, we do need to regulate the industry, and we need to regulate AI and to some extent. But we have to be very careful how we regulate it so that we don't prevent innovation and limit innovation. And remember, Africans, we're still very, I don't want to say back, but we're still very behind in both development and adoption. So if we limit ourselves, this is another revolution that we're just going to miss out.
That's true.
Right? So we have to be very careful and play a tricky balance between
That's true.
What can we limit and what can we allow, right? And of course, this requires that we work together, like, people like me who are doing engineering and whatever. Actually, 3 weeks ago, I was doing a very good training at in one of the hotels here, and it was about something called technology facilitated gender-based violence. So with this AI, people are able to do a lot of bad things, especially around gender violence.
In Spain or in Europe, are the kids so into tech? Are they so into?
Of course, and there's a lot of regulations.
How do you compare that to Kenya?
Well, to be honest, nowadays there's no difference. The TikTok generation is the TikTok generation, whether you're in Spain or you're in Kenya.
But are we learning these things?
Are we? What do you mean?
Are we, like, for example, are we learning coding? Are we learning, are our kids doing enough?
I don't know much about it. I know at Light Academy I learned coding.
There was a time you gave us a webinar.
Yeah.
There was some school you have online or something.
Yes, I was teaching, but these were more like adults. So we are, those are adults, not kids. In terms of learning, I don't think I think it's too early to teach kids AI. They can learn how to use it, but not necessarily the development of it.
In Kazakhstan, what I saw, there's something called Sana. It's where kids go after school, like every country have it.
Okay.
Bro, it's amazing. Like kids go there and they have computers and they're learning, and not just computers, whatever passion they have. And we look at those and then we think of Africa and we're like, we have a long way to catch up.
Yeah, but to be fair, we are...
Now add regulations now. Now I think we have...
Yeah, to be fair, we still have quite... But again, technology is expensive, right? Even access to ChatGPT is $20 an hour. I mean, $20 per month. How many people can access?
Mine is free.
Yeah, you have the free version, but that's very limited. If you want to do anything meaningful, you need to pay... I mean, $20 is how much in Kenyan shillings? Almost 3,000 shillings.
Yeah,
how many people do you think can afford 3,000 shillings in Kenya?
For ChatGPT?
Yeah, for ChatGPT, right? Yes. And that's why me and a bunch of other people are huge advocates of developing our own AI that is factoring in what we are as Africans and what we are doing, and the pricings and the economic status and all these nitty-gritty details, which OpenAI or Google might not necessarily be interested in looking into. Yeah.
I think you have done a lot of academic research. I've done as well when you were doing masters. Yeah. We used to have a lot of citations where you read papers and then when you're writing your paper, you cite other people.
Yes.
But with ChatGPT, the way it's going, I think AI is going to do a lot of these things. Now, I don't think people use Google Scholar anymore. I'm not sure because I'm not...
you still kind of need to use it.
Do you think this will be the end of citations?
Not necessarily. I mean, so citations is more about acknowledgement. So you can actually tell ChatGPT to generate you the list of citations. You don't have to read all the papers.
If ChatGPT can do my research, I'm not going to cite ChatGPT.
Yeah, but there's a lot of originality in research, right? And I don't think AI is there yet. in terms of originality, right? And especially people who do social science research, right? There's a lot of originality required in research. That's still something we can't
I
tell
remember
ChatGPT to
when
do.
we were doing our masters, we used to stay all night reading papers and papers.
Yes.
Now ChatGPT just summarizes it in bullet
You can
points.
exactly. So it just makes our life easier. It doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have to do that work. It just makes our work a lot easier. Yeah.
How do we see it developing in the next like 10 years or so?
Oof, it's hard to predict because the problem is.
Are we moving so fast?
Yes, too fast.
Too fast.
Sometimes scaringly too fast. Because, and let me give you an example. ChatGPT became popular in which year? 2022 or something like that?
Maybe last year.
Yeah, you started first. But like,
I hated it at first actually.
yeah, before that they had developed the GPT model itself. So GPT-1, GPT-2, GPT-3. And GPT-3 became quite popular and people didn't know a lot of people didn't know how to use it because you needed to do it from a command line, blah, blah, blah. Not many people can do that. And then they developed the interface now that became ChatGPT, right? And boom, it exploded. And within 2 years, what has happened to ChatGPT is incredible. Like how smart it has gotten.
I was using it yesterday. Yeah. It's different from how I was using it last month. You know,
now we have the 4.0.
I was trying to write a project. It's giving me a whole project. I'm just giving it suggestions.
Prompts. So now people are focusing more on learning how to do better prompts and this kind of things. This is just 2 years of existence. So let me give you another stupid example. We have something called Moore's law in computer science, whereby some former engineer or CEO of Intel predicted that the number of transistors in a chip was going to double every 2 years, right? Yeah. And that was true until a very, very long time, until recently. Well, they're still doubling, but for different reasons, right? That's complicated. But imagine if the intelligence of ChatGPT doubles every 2 years.
Wow.
Where do you think that puts us?
So what do you see it going 10 years time, let's say? Not ChatGPT per se, let's say AI per se, an impact on our life.
I think obviously now it has become an integral part of our lives. I think almost everybody has ChatGPT in their phones, right? I didn't think that was going to happen 2 years ago. But right now, for me, I use it on a daily basis. There is not a single day that I can tell you I didn't use ChatGPT, right? It has become such an integral part of our lives. It's like having a phone, right? I think that's just going to continue. More people adopting it, more people knowing about it. What I'm excited to see is, right now it's still very English focused or very Western focused, right? I want to see ChatGPT that speaks to my mom, in Kikuyu or Luo or whatever. And for that to happen, we need a lot more Africans working on this technology. We need a lot more people from the continent doing research and solving difficult problems that we need to solve to address this.
Funny enough, I know someone who is a data scientist and is specific on languages.
Exactly. And there's a lot of efforts right now in Kenya around languages. Swahili has improved significantly. Swahili used to be a low resource language. I don't want to go into the technical details of what that means. But right now, Swahili has improved so much. There are people at Maseno University, like Dr. Lillian and a bunch of others who are doing incredible work to address the data issues that we have and also to make sure we're having, we call this NLP. ChatGPT is an NLP tool, right? NLP means natural language processing. So that's
when you talk about going so fast, do you think it might surpass human intelligence?
It depends. I think on specific things, yes. Even now, it is way more powerful than human intelligence. But it's just that it's not general. You see, the good thing about a human being is we can have this conversation right now, right? Yeah. I can go out there and ride a bike. I can go eat. I can go drive a car. I can fly a plane. There's so many things I can do with just this single brain, right?
But this thing is learning.
So intelligent, but yeah, it's still specific.
It is learning, and it's learning very fast.
Yeah, but it's still very specific. What people don't realize is that AI is still very limited to text. Almost everything we are training it with is everything that is written. If at one point we are able to figure out transferring knowledge that is not written to intelligence or generating its own intelligence without necessarily knowledge that is written or that kind of thing, then that could be a different discussion.
I don't think we're very far. Already Google has image search, just put a picture and Google shows you what this is.
But it's still, I'm a skeptic of the famous thing people call AGI, like artificial general intelligence. I think AI will still be very, very specific, but it will be super good at solving some problems.
Let's talk about jobs. Are people going to lose jobs with AI?
Yeah, obviously, yes. But I don't think necessarily it's losing jobs. It's more of job transformation, right? When we had computers, people with typewriters did not necessarily lose jobs. Their jobs were transformed.
Male people lost jobs because of email. Just male men lose jobs.
Yeah, but not necessarily. Those jobs were just transformed.
And
I think
How are you going to transform things like, tell me, what are you going to transform me? Bro, people
Let me give you a very, let me
people
give you
are going to
a very
lose
good-
jobs literally.
Yeah, let me give you an example I always give.
Let me give before you, sorry, let me cut you short. Do you know there's a restaurant in Kenya called Robot Restaurant?
Yeah, I mean, that's been around for a long. I mean, even now deliveries are not,
Exactly.
global deliveries are done by
Bro,
robots.
there are no waitresses. Like
Yeah,
you sit down and the
that's-
robot is bringing you food. And this is not AI. Like
Yeah,
we're
but
not in AI there.
We're just transforming those jobs to something else. Those people will do something else. I don't.
What do they do? People go to school for these things. I go to school for 4 years to learn hospitality. I come as a waitress. You bring a robot. I'm
But you
jobless.
see, yeah, but not necessarily. I wanted to give you the example of, you remember the bicycle boda bodas that were very popular in Kenya?
Those one,
Where you would ride a bicycle. When motorbikes came, those people didn't necessarily lose job. A lot of them just bought motorbikes. But they became motorbike boda bodas.
and now have to learn to ride motorbikes.
Exactly.
At some
You
age,
just-
there's just
and that's the same thing is going to happen with
AI.
AI. Jobs are just going to be transformed, not necessarily lost. Yes, there's some jobs that are going to be lost.
You guys always say that, but technology, a lot of people are losing jobs.
Me, I'm
to
very
technology,
optimistic.
man.
Like, and also it's going to make our. I mean, think about it. Not so long ago, people had to work 50 hours a week. Now we work 40 hours a week. European Union is introducing rules to work 35 hours a week.
No, I think the better way
Because AI can
the
do
better
a
way
lot
to
of
put it is that there's going to be a lot of how do you call it, inequality. There's going to be a very huge inequality.
Obviously, there's going to be
to people who
inequality.
can
But
actually
like
do
every other
this.
technology brings in a lot of inequalities, and that's part of things that need to be thought about before rolling out a particular technology, right? Like this and whatnot. But yeah,
For those few years I've been alive, I've known that if you fight technology, you lose.
Yes.
The
I think it-
taxi drivers who fought Uber are now
Yes,
jobless.
you-
Those who
yes,
embrace it
yes,
are
yes.
on a lot of
unfortunately,
Uber
that
cars.
happens a lot. Yeah.
But you see, this is now happening on a very big scale. And you see, the funny thing is, Uber is, for example, things like Uber, they hit one industry. So let's say for some time, email, for example, I talk about
Yes.
Postman. This is hitting a lot of industry at once.
It's hitting a lot of industries at once,
It is-
but it's also transforming jobs, man. It's transforming how we do things.
For now-
which is quite exciting.
For now, you'll be a researcher, of course, for a very long time. Some of us here will have to find jobs to do.
No, but it can also do. Now we have AI researchers that are able to just do. That AI can do the research. You just said like it can summarize all your citations and whatever, right? I've not necessarily lost my job because of that. I just use it to make my life easier.
There's a lot of talk about prompt engineering, that to be the future if you want to survive.
Nah, not necessarily. I think first of all, I don't like the word prompt engineering. I think there's no engineering in prompting. It's like learning how to Google search.
Yeah.
So think about Google search and that, right? You just need to know how to search, and that's pretty much it.
So there's no you should not worry us with prompt.
No. I'm very optimistic. I think a lot of.
You know that's right now. I have seen one myself. There are some job applications that actually require you to have some knowledge of artificial intelligence.
Of course, and that's going to be the case for the coming times, right? And but we are sitting in a school right now. Right? Let's take a very good example of schools. A teacher who uses AI and a teacher who doesn't use AI, those are two very different people. If I'm doing my lesson planning and getting more extra knowledge from AI on how I'm going to deliver the content to my students, it's very different from a teacher who just uses the classic old books, because you're very limited. Right? Now you have a lot of powerful technology in front of you. Yes. I teach and I use AI to teach. I will dig into things I don't know, right? And it can help capture that information a lot faster. So in drug discovery, we say that drug hunters who are AI will not replace drug hunters. It will replace drug hunters who don't use AI or something like that. But yeah,
there was an advertisement I saw once, a billboard of Masons, and they're saying, "Tell AI to build you this house."
Yeah. And now, for example, architects, they're using AI to generate images, and then they can get inspired from that, and then do the designs. Right? That's an architect I would love to work with.
What's the coolest AI project you've worked on yourself?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about some of them, but let me see what I can. One of my favorite work until now is a paper and some research I did on scaling AI in supercomputers, which was still in very, very early stages by then. People are not doing a lot of scaling in supercomputers. So, and this is one of my most important papers for my PhD, which later on was adopted by so many people and blah, blah, blah.
You're being cited.
Yeah. But the idea behind it was, if you're given a model, how can you break that down model and train it in a supercomputer? And essentially what a supercomputer is, think about all these laptops, all these computers in this computer lab. Imagine if they had to work together. Right? And I have this large model that I want to train. So I'm going to give one piece to this computer, one piece to this computer, one piece to this computer. And I want them to work together. And in the end of the day, I want to have a trained model. So that was one of the biggest problems I was solving during my PhD. how to do that distribution. It's called parallel and distributed computing.
I will pretend I understood.
It's quite easy. Think, but you can understand it. Let me make
of quantum.
Yes, but let me make it even more easier. Think about it. If you have a matrix, right, a 4x4 matrix, and you want to do matrix multiplication. So you remember how you used to do matrix multiplication, rows and columns. But imagine if you did each multiplication in its own computer, and all you do is get the result. That's it. It's really that simple. I mean, well, when you write the code for it, it's not that simple, but the concept is that much.
I don't like it. Now, there's one concept of AI, especially ChatGPT, in our office, for example, when we used to, ChatGPT was coming, and Steven was being told to write some letters, right? He used to go to ChatGPT and put it.
Yep.
I hated it. And I want to talk about it. Yeah, now I have a chance.
Now you have an opportunity.
I hated it because I feel that it is killing creativity. Now, listen to this, and I wrote what I read from some lady. She was saying that I want AI to wash my dishes so that I can do my artwork. Not AI to do my artwork so that I can wash dishes. So, what do you think about this? What's your take on this?
I think that's very true, right? We are becoming quite reliant on that. But let me tell you another example that you can relate to. Remember when spell checkers came in Microsoft Word? You could write a word and Microsoft Word could suggest you the correct spelling. Does it mean we forgot how to type? I mean, well, people like me, yes. If right now you want me to write down for you, I will make a lot of spelling mistakes. But if I do it on a computer, I will not make, because I mean, Microsoft Word will correct it for me, right? So it's more or less the same thing. We are indeed losing a bit of that, but I think, there's still a lot that, human originality is
even
still needed.
Complaining of speeches, you hear someone, normally we used to be impressed, what a speech and clap. Now people just say, this is just machine generated. And the worst part about ChatGPT, not the worst part about this topic, is that you can tell ChatGPT to give you a speech on a topic. Once it gives you actually quote the topic and tell ChatGPT, make it more human.
Exactly.
And it makes it more human.
It makes it more human, It's gotten so... But then, look, I only have 5 minutes to write a speech. Do you really think I'm going to write a speech from scratch?
But I need that creativity. But
so what you do with that is you tell ChatGPT, or what I usually do, like how I use it, for example, emails. When I have to write emails that I don't like, of course, some of them I write with ChatGPT, right? But I will first draft it, my own version, and tell ChatGPT, can you make this better? Or I will tell ChatGPT to draft it, then I take it and improve it by myself. But the original skeleton, they have done the skeleton for me.
I have a friend, Mohammed, he'll be proud of you. Whenever I tell him hi, I even surprised. I think I greet him and he goes to ChatGPT and
he goes to ChatGPT to answer you.
How am I doing and stuff?
It helps a lot in the sense that I can offload that cognitive thing that I don't want to do, and I will have it do for me.
Let me tell you my idea what I think this thing could be very, very, very good. I don't know, go make something for me like this. Like you put your calendar on an AI tool, like your calendar, like this is what I'm to do. You input the things you're doing, like I wake up in the morning, I had breakfast, I'm going to office. You put things, remember you have a calendar there. You put the things how you feel, for example, for a very period of time, make it learn you, and then it optimizes for you now, for example.
But I already do that. There's a calendar that
I thought I was smart, man.
I'll send you the name. I forgot the name, but there's a calendar that does that. It does that. It combines all your calendars.
It opens for you that you should do this and this.
Exactly.
It does that.
There's a calendar that does that now. I forgot the name, but I tried to use it.
When I came up with this thing, I was so...
It started, what I didn't like about that calendar, it started scheduling, like my mood changes very fast. So it would schedule something to do in the morning. But like for me, I got tired because it would schedule something for me in the morning and I'm like, I don't want to do this in the morning, I want to do this in the afternoon. But obviously it was in the early. So I think there's still improvements being done on that front.
We will be very productive. I would use that.
For me, I have a very chaotic brain, so my mood changes quickly and I'm like, I don't want to do this now. And if you mess one thing, unless you tell it now to change and flip things around.
What are we living? Whatever you're thinking about is already there.
It's already.
What kind of world are we living in? And I thought this was very original.
That's technology for you. That's technology for you.
But with creativity, with going there, I'll tell you, I was watching an interview with Ben Affleck. He's a very nice guy. And he was talking about the future of movies, and he was asked about this AI and the future of not music, or future of film industry.
Film industry, yeah.
And he was saying that AI is like a Chirac in Turkish. I don't know how to put it. Chirac is like I read it down. Craftsman. It's an AI craftsman. Think of a carpenter. You are teaching it how to do things, so it is learning to do things, but it doesn't create things.
It doesn't create exactly.
It doesn't create.
I don't know if you know Joel Moriarty.
Yeah,
we talk a lot. Even couple of days ago, we were on a very long call with him talking about AI, and because he's also into film industry.
Yeah, I know. He has a good relationship with Jabbar in Turkey.
Yeah. What's going to do in film industry and what's happening. And yeah, it's exactly that, right? The creativity of the human brain, I think it's still very, very powerful.
And Ben Affleck was saying that like AI will give you a very good wordings, but it can't give you Shakespeare.
Yeah,
like, really.
Exactly.
Now, and he was talking about the future of this AI on movies. Think of Netflix. And the guy was saying that you can input the kind of movie you want, and this is the future he's saying, for example.
The videos. Actually, that's being done.
And he's saying, think of Game of Thrones, yani. You can actually input it like, I want to make you like move like Game of Thrones, but don't kill Ned Stark and make Jon Snow king of the Seven Kingdoms, and it will make you.
It will make you exactly. Yeah.
And he was saying that the people who will lose the most are people who are in videography, because actually it's going to make a lot of cutting cost. Actually, you talk about. I think this is something that is
exactly.
Going to be
and it's good for filmmakers, because now they're able to rapidly. Because again, you need to be able to rapidly test stuff, right? So
and I think if people in the film industry can start using these things, we'll be getting 2 seasons of Game of Thrones in a year. Right?
How many episodes we're going to be getting?
We've been waiting for James Bond for 3 years now.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, but this is, lastly, because I need to talk about other things. Apart from ChatGPT, we know ChatGPT so much. We know, like, literally any layman knows ChatGPT. People like me would do tech savvy. What are the other cool AI tools that we can direct us to?
Driverless cars. I don't know if we have them here yet.
like tools I can use, like
you want tools that you can use.
In the daily life.
There's a really good tool that we use for summarizing papers. You can give it a long paper and it'll convert it to you in a form of a podcast. I forgot. I think it's called Notebook LM or something like that. I think it's by Google. It does that for you.
What about? Is there anything that can help me contain my social media content when you live in social media? Can you
control or generate?
Generate.
So let me tell you another tool that I really use for me on a day-to-day basis. I hate doing slides. I'm good at doing just the content, but I hate the slide design. I'm not going to spend 1 hour figuring out which button goes where. Now, PowerPoint has implemented something called slide generator or something like that, and you just put your content and it generates a really nice slide for you.
Whoa.
And it's so beautiful. They put all the arrows and all these funny things and whatever, and it's so nice.
It's free.
And I'm like, well, you need to have a PowerPoint subscription, but it's free if you have a PowerPoint subscription. And I love that, right? That's something very, very simple, and I use it every day.
This is very good for students, for example.
Now, for me, for coding, I use GitHub Copilot, right? You can just type something and GitHub knows what, the Copilot knows what's the next thing.
We're complaining about things like, GoDaddy, like making websites and stuff. The website developers going to suffer with this?
Of course. But again, there is some element of them that we can't eliminate, right? The software engineering process, you have to listen to the client specifications. You know that collecting client specifications and all that kind of thing. You still need someone to do that. But the good thing is now, people who don't necessarily have a website background can design their own websites in a super fast way.
People
like you. You don't need an engineer to do that for you.
Sorry to my friends. Emotional. AI and emotional intelligence. I think I was reading somewhere that the thing that is stopping driverless cars is really this emotional intelligence, like the ability for it to actually read emotions and be emotionally like humans. When we're talking about it being smarter than humans, I think on some level, but emotionally, do you think that a time will come when ChatGPT will be emotionally on our level, enough to create, let's say, poems or songs that actually touch us? But
it can do that already, right? ChatGPT can do that.
It doesn't touch me, man. It's just machine for me.
I think you need to get the premium one so that you can see where it touches you. and of course, OpenAI should give me some money for promoting the premium version so much. But no, not necessarily. Okay, so this is something we have to be careful about, right? Emotions are different, right? Emotions are quite complicated. I even don't understand emotions myself, and I wouldn't say that's my area of specialty and whatever. But on a day-to-day thing, if you can tell ChatGPT to write a story that is going to make you cry, it can do that. Right?
And cry.
Yeah, and you can cry, right? That's not so hard to do. Or you can tell ChatGPT to compose a song that is going to make you cry. That's easy to do, right?
Really?
For sure. But like, obviously, ChatGPT doesn't have emotions or whatever, and this kind of things. It's just trained on data that we gave it. So what it's going to do is it's going to look in its knowledge What are some of the things that made people cry? And it's going to use that to compose a poem or whatever that is going to make you cry or whatever, right? If you want, we can try after this, right? Just tell ChatGPT, write a story that is going to make me cry, and let's see if it's going to make you cry or not.
I'll try that. Well, I'll try that.
Right?
I better cry on.
Or write a joke that is going to make you laugh. Laughing is also an emotion, right?
Yeah,
It can make
true.
you laugh, right?
So driverless cars are coming,
Well, they're there already, no? In San Francisco.
and they're allowed.
Yeah, they're allowed completely.
We need regulations, man. Huh? We need regulations.
We need good roads. We don't need regulations. We need good roads in Kenya.
Imagine when you go to river with the driverless cars.
Yeah, it's gonna ice, yeah.
Them Kokoteni guys, I don't think.
That's why we need good roads. But it's also getting, I mean, driverless cars are getting smarter and smarter, right? People are able to do really good stuff.
Hata driver mnachukua kazi zao, man. Hata drivers mnakosa kazi zao.
Even the drivers are gone, yeah. But then the drivers can do something else, right?
What happens when ChatGPT start, or not forget ChatGPT comes, when AI start making decisions that we don't agree with? What happens to that? Like, I'm thinking about the future. When this is, for example, the choice of let's say we have the chance of saving 1 million people over saving one person. I can't, you know the
dilemma, the old question.
Yeah, what happens to that when ChatGPT,
whether train should run through a child or turn?
That's the thing. What happens when AI will start making decisions that we don't agree with?
So let me give you a very realistic example. Currently, the war in Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine or whatever, right? Ukrainians are able to make a lot of innovations around a lot of things really, really quickly. And one of the things, it was actually a podcast I was listening on the daily. They're able to mount a camera on an AK-47 or a drone, and right now the decision to kill or not to kill is still on the person, like the soldier, right? But flipping that decision from let the system decide is actually very easy. It's less than 100 lines of code, right? And there was a very philosophical discussion on, are we there? Like, are AI weapons that thing already, right? And people are worried about that because we haven't thought about that and we haven't regulated that yet, right? At the end of the day, right now in warfare, the decision to kill or not kill is still dependent on the person. But you need to realize how simple it is. Like, even a high school kid can do that. Transferring that decision to a computer is less than 100 lines of code.
So what happens?
So I think those are philosophical questions that I'm not equipped to answer, but I'm just saying that that's not...
We're not far from there.
Yeah, that's not... No, we're actually there. It's not a very difficult thing to do, right? It's super easy to put a computer vision model that is going to kill specific people and whatnot, right? But of course, we're not doing it because at the end of the day, we're human beings, right? We have to be ethical and... and
Well, I think this topic with AI will never end.
We can go on until morning. I'm usually very excited about this technology, and I can talk a lot about different things. There's so many things that are exciting me about AI in Africa. Things I look forward to. I'm looking forward to AI learning more about my culture, my language, my people, because right now it's still very Western, so to say. I'm looking more to business people in Kenya and other places adopting this technology and being able to do amazing stuff with it. I'm looking more into our cultural preservation, because cultural, I don't want to say cultural preservation, but like so when you read books, right, you read about a particular culture, right? And so that is manifested in the AI that we built. But I want to see an AI that recognizes this. One of the projects that I was doing, or like I was taking part in, was a project to generate, to create data sets from African foods. Because if you tell ChatGPT to generate you a picture of a pizza, it can do that, pop. But if I tell ChatGPT to generate a picture of Modokoi, it won't be able to do that because ChatGPT is not trained on the data of those people. So we're trying to solve that problem. There's a group of people, a very good friend of mine called Chauvin, that they're already working on that. They're working on that. They're creating data sets from African foods to help ChatGPT be able to recognize this. Because at the end of the day, 100 years from now, maybe the food images, even now, if you Google on internet, it's not so easy to find some of our foods. When we were doing this project, because I was coordinating the Kenyan part, I was very curious to know, what do the Turkana eat? Does anybody in Kenya know what the Turkana eat, for instance? Like, what's their typical food in Turkana?
I never thought about it. I know what Kazakhs eat. I know what the Turkanas eat. Shame on me.
But what do the Turkana eat, right? Or the Pokomo? Me, I know because I'm from Lamu and it's a neighbor. But like, a lot of this is still not preserved and not manifested in this. So those are challenges we need to address. Important questions we need to be thinking about. We're talking about ChatGPT being used for education purposes, students working with it and whatever. But what about our own kids here, right? Remember that the way we learn is different from how people out there learn and how these things work. And if you're going to build AI assistants to help people learn, they have to know that a kid from Lamu needs to learn.
That's true.
Right? Not necessarily a kid sitting in Berlin.
That's true.
Right? So these are important problems I think a lot about, and how we can solve them.
In Light Academy now, they are really focusing on, we have a project called Destination Ivy League. We're taking students to Ivy League and stuff to get to US and to universities. Now, I'm sure some of our students are really interested in this thing of AI and stuff.
Yeah.
If they want to learn, what can be the starting point? What advice can we give them?
Honestly, I think they just need to be excited about the technology and aware of the technology. Math is always a good thing to have, like we have talked about in Kenya. Unfortunately, we do very substandard mathematics. I don't know if the new curriculum is changing that or not, but it doesn't look so well. That's something, but it's just mostly about being aware of what's the technology and what's happening. But above all, I think we forget a lot about the fact that technology and engineering is supposed to help society. So whatever we're doing, whatever we're building needs to be addressing specific society problems, and specific society issues. And that would be good.
Enough of this technology and ChatGPT.
Enough of AI.
You're an education champion. Learning
Yes.
so much. I know some projects we have been to alumni office, we have connected.
Yes.
So what do you do? What is this?
Yes, I'm an education champion because education literally changed my life. I could have been everyone else out there. I got a really good shot at life by getting a scholarship to go to Light Academy, and my dad figuring out from a very early age that this kid needed to go to school. So he moved me from Lamu. I mean, now people see Lamu as the tourist destination, but Lamu was one of the most marginalized places in Kenya for a very, very long time, right? We didn't have tarmac road until, like, I don't know, 5 years ago or something like that. So for a kid who grew up there and saw firsthand how education has managed to transform my life, I'm a huge advocate of education. I would love people to get access to high quality education, and we can change society with education, right? Even Mandela said something like that, right? So I'm extremely proud of, I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity I got in life just because of education. I was able to focus on that and you know, just following the path, right? From 4 to uni to masters.
Do you have any projects you're doing locally?
Yeah, so because of that, I'm very passionate about seeing more kids follow the same path. So I started a sort of community library in Lamu that was going to help that. Nice. And the community library was just an initial step to what I was intending to build, which was a school in Lamu. And
there's still time?
Yes. No, I've actually started.
Oh, you've started
so we did
school?
the trench digging 2 days ago.
Oh, nice.
We're building a really nice school there. It's going to have, like, you know, really nice computer labs because obviously I'm into tech.
Wow.
So we want to do really crazy
You're building a
stuff.
whole school?
Yeah, we're building a whole school from scratch.
Wow, nice.
With the intention to do a lot of technology work and introduce people to technology at a very early age. You know, basically what I got, because the question I asked myself was, Light Academy is not in Lamu. Yeah. Does it mean every kid will have to come to Light Academy for them to get good quality education? No, there should be Light Academy everywhere in the country, right? We should be thinking about how to get good quality education to every person and at an affordable price. And ideally, I would love to do this from a government perspective, right? It should be our government fixing this problem of education. But let's face it, what they're doing to education right now is not the right thing, right? There's a lot of, I don't want to go talk to politics.
About that.
I don't want to talk politics, but the realistic part of it is we should be really focusing on improving education in this country, be it from a private perspective, from a government perspective, from public perspective. We should have a community library in every town.
That's true.
Right? But we don't have community libraries. Right? We should be able to donate books to community libraries, like you're doing, right? Like I did, like with the Light Academy. I got
we have some books, by the way.
Yes,
Yeah,
I will pick them and take them to Lamu.
Yes.
We should be able to do this in every town. Every single community should have a community library. There should be a place where kids go to learn. I remember when I was very young, like Form 1 or Form 2, I was so interested in things like radio and how they work and transmitters and stuff. I would go to the Mombasa National Library, it's called Kenya National Library, Mombasa, just to read some books I would not find anywhere about how to build a transmitter, for instance. I was really curious about, and that's one thing I remember a lot from my high school life, I was very curious about how a transmitter works. Right? Like you have something that is generating some signal and another one that is receiving, and this is working, and how does that work, right? And I would be able to go to a library and learn about it. That should be able to happen in every community.
How can anybody out there, our alumni, etc., how can they help you in this thing?
So far so good. I've been doing the book drive. We have some books. I've collected a lot of books, by the way.
Nice.
And now that I'm finishing the school will have a specific section that is for the community library, and literally anyone. So the funny story is, when we started the community library, I thought it was kids who would come to read. No, man, old people would come and read books. They were so much enjoying this. And so I thought, this needs to be a thing, right? We're going to make this happen. And so, yeah, from Alumni Network, from anyone watching this, if you have some books that you're using, you can drop them with you, and I can pick them and do more of this. And hopefully, look, we need to be a people that reads, right? Yes. We need to be people that read. Like, there's a lot of knowledge. Yes, nowadays ChatGPT can summarize all the books and whatever, but there's a different thing in just reading a book and all that kind of thing. And we need to be thinking a lot about that.
That's true.
So that's quite important.
We talked about the endowment fund for our alumni. So remember we were talking about it and stuff.
And I would love that come to fruition. I hope we can do that this year.
We are really working on it. Hopefully,
yes. Let me just say the idea behind it. The idea behind it was, when there were about 5 people that were getting scholarships when I was joining Light Academy, there would be 5 or 6 kids that would get scholarships. I don't know how many scholarships are there anymore, but that would be the number, right? And imagine if we had, as people who have graduated from Light Academy, people who have seen how education transformed our lives. Like, you are a living example. We did high school together. We went to Turkey together. You came back. You're doing fantastic job.
I was on 100% scholarship from primary. Yeah? I was on 100% scholarship from primary.
From primary school, right? You can see how this is transforming people. And let's be face it, like, there are people who actually can't afford this. There's no way in heaven and earth I could have afforded to go to Light Academy, right? It's practically impossible. And I don't think scholarships are the ultimate solution, but it could be one of the solutions. I usually say, even if we change, look, I'm one kid who got a scholarship. I'm building a school that is probably going to help 300 kids.
That's what's up.
That's how we need to think about it, right? Yes, scholarships are not the ultimate way to solve this problem. This problem needs to be solved from a government perspective, ensuring that we have high quality education for everyone, right? But for the moment, if we Light Academy graduates could come together and say, I'm going to contribute 10,000 shillings, I'm going to contribute 10,000 shillings. And in 1 year, if we raise a specific amount, we could sponsor, we could actually be the ones picking the kid who we want to be sponsored and say, we want to sponsor this kid to join Light Academy. And we never know. That kid could be the next Barack Obama.
They have Max books now.
They could be the next computer engineers. They could be the next aeronautics engineers.
I think this is a good challenge to our alumni office.
And I really hope we can pull this off. And like I was telling you at the beginning, we don't even need to think about what we can do for 5 kids. Can we just think about, can we put enough money for just one kid for 4 years? Right? Because again, we need to have the money for 4 years. Right? And let's see how that works. And I think, look, and guys,
it's a good challenge for us. Like,
it's a good challenge for us.
This is what it's a challenge for us. It'll be better if I call you like, Albert, I need this school fees. We are short 10,000.
We are short 10,000
instead of just calling you, Albert, how are you doing?
Exactly, right? So that could be really, and you need to think about how this happens in other countries, like Harvard University. People think like you just join Harvard because you're super smart and whatever. Yes, there's a lot of people who join Harvard because they're super smart, but Harvard has a really strong endowment fund.
That's true.
Right? They're able to get a lot of kids on scholarship because people who graduate from there are able to donate to those kind of institutions and support particular scholarships. We have people who are doing sports and whatever and this kind of things. So that could be, that's something that we should absolutely be thinking about. And I can't wait to see this take off.
We are motivated right now.
If you can see how that works.
If you can build a school in your own, we can actually
we can do a lot more than that, right? Absolutely.
I'm so inspired and appreciative of you coming.
Thank you so much for having me. This is the first podcast I'm ever doing in my life.
I waited for you for
I know.
I was just waiting for when will this guy land in Kenya.
I come and I disappear in 3 days. And I'm glad to be doing it in a computer lab, right?
Right,
really good memories.
Good this idea, man.
I would sit over there when I was...
Nice idea.
Yeah.
I remember my first computer lab with Mustafa Genj and we were sitting with Chachu.
Chachu was in Turkey, right? For a long time.
Yeah, Chachu was in Turkey. And we were like, say, what are these things? How do you open this?
What do people...
It was really crazy, man.
So funny story, right? From our first year. When we first got into a computer lab, people would turn them off like a TV. You know when you turn off a TV? And then Mr. Kerem would lose his mind because that's not how you turn off a computer. You get shut down and blah, blah, blah. And we just press the button like it's as if it's a computer. That was very funny. I don't want to mention names.
Good.
Those who are in our year remember that.
I mentioned those who bullied me.
No, I'm not going to mention names, but yeah.
Albert, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I really hope next time we meet, I'll actually tell you that since our podcast, our endowment fund, we're actually doing this.
I really hope that works out.
I hope you come back after 1 year and we
Definitely,
take it from
definitely.
there.
And let me know when we're set.
Yes, exactly.
I'll be super happy to join that. I'll be super happy
thank you so
with
much.
that. So
man.
thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time.
Say hi to Festus.
I'll say hi to everyone. Yeah, thank you very much.